And now, our feature presentation.
Hello guys, Eat899 here and welcome to this video. This video might be the most controversial one I ever do. Regarding rugby league, of course, not because I had to, delete a certain video because of certain teams' fans got a bit rowdy in the terms of football. But anyways, enough about European football. This is going to be my NRL hot takes. So basically, this is hot takes or unpopular opinions. Basically, I'm going to give you 10 of my what I think of things I believe which are either unpopular or a bit of a hot take, because I want this to be like a two-part kind of series. This video is where I show mine, and hopefully you guys in the comments will show what your hot take or unpopular opinions are for rugby league. So let's go straight in firing for the first one. In my personal opinion, the Melbourne Storm were punished way too harshly for the salary cap breach. So we all know what happened. They breached the salary cap and they got stripped of their 2007 and 2009 premierships, their 06, 07 and 08 minor premierships. They had all their points taken from them in the 2010 season. They were stuck at 0 for the whole season, so they had to come last. And I think they got fined as well. In my personal opinion, it was a bit too harsh. Like, other teams ever since then, and even before then, broke the salary cap. Because I remember the Bulldogs broke the salary cap in like 2002. And it was like, to me personally, it's just like, it was just way too harsh for no reason. Like, I know people like throw around this whole like, oh, there's a New South Wales favouritism when it comes to the rugby league. But it was stuff like this, because you had like the Cronulla Sharks who potentially there was talks about them losing their premiership in 2016, but that never happened. But yeah, I personally think the Storm got punished way too harsh, and it's not like it really affected them. Like, 3 years later, they ended up winning the comp again, and then ever since 2016 have been nearly in a grand final nearly every single year. So it's not like it's changed anything, but in my personal opinion, I think they were punished way too hard for it. The next one is the game going soft is actually a good thing. Now, obviously people yearn for the years of when the biff was a big deal and the shoulder charge where you could basically just pummel people into the absolute living hell. But I do feel like with the game, like, quote unquote becoming soft, I think it's a good thing because it helps put the safety and the well-being of the players at the forefront. Because I'm very sick and tired of seeing how many people have to retire, because every time when the grand final happens, they have the retirement ceremony, and most of those players are people that have to retire because of medical reasons. And with all the developments of with CTE, with concussions and stuff like that, and how it can fuck up the brain, like, if there's potential that you can get dementia just from hitting a soccer ball, I think taking like shoulder charges like for 80 minutes 26 times a year for like 10 years, it's pretty scary about how that could actually really affect people. So I do feel like for the well-being of the players, I think the game going soft is actually a good thing. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. Kailyn Ponga is not overrated. So obviously ever since Kailyn Ponga joined the Knights, there's been a lot of hype about him becoming the next Billy Slater. And for some reason, people are shocked that he hasn't won like 3 straight premierships ever since he's become a part of the Knights, which I don't think the word overhyped, because every time like Ponga has like one bad game, they call him like overrated and stuff like that. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's just been overhyped, because obviously, especially Queensland, have been looking for this next Billy Slater for this new Queensland team era, and it's just like so much pressure has been put on him to become the next Billy Slater. It's like, bro, just chill out. Like, he's very young. He's still very, very young. He's got like 5 years till he even hits his prime in the rugby league. So I don't think he's overrated, but I feel like he has been overhyped a little bit, because it's not the same thing. Overhyped is not the same thing as overrated. Now this one, I know this will target one specific set of fans, Cowboys fans. I'm sorry about this, but the 97 grand final try was better than the 2015 one. Like, okay, yes, I do support Newcastle, so basically any form of credibility from people commenting are going to be saying you're just biased. Fair enough, but here's the thing. So both games had tries right on the siren that had an impact on the game. Of course it did. However, the Cowboys try, which was a very good try by the way, and probably one of the most clutch plays in the modern era of rugby league, that try tied the game. Because we all know afterwards, Jonathan Thurston then had the kick from the sideline, he misses, and then the whole golden point thing, blah blah blah. Ben Hunt drops the ball, whatever. But Darren Albert's try in 1997, that was to win the game, and that sealed the premiership for Newcastle. It's hard to say because like I am a Knights fan, so there is a bit of bias probably towards it, but it's a bit of a hot take. Like, I know like fans are probably sick to death about hearing about the 97 grand final, but I'm not. It does kind of suck. When the Knights were at their most dominant, I wasn't even alive, so. And as you see here, I'm only 20, but I look 40. Being a fan of Newcastle fucking ages you. Now, speaking of which, this is going to be a little bit random, but hopefully people can kind of see what I'm getting at is, I feel like the Immortals is starting to get a bit ridiculous. So, as people all know, there's the Rugby League Immortals. Like, I remember the last one was before there was like 6 were added in like one season for some reason. There was back in 2012 when Andrew Johns got it, became the 8th Immortal. I kind of feel like ever since Cameron Smith retired, because he is going to be an Immortal at some point, when is the Immortals just going to become like this overblown kind of Hall of Fame thing? Because there is already a Rugby League Hall of Fame. But then you got this Immortals thing, which is like for the best of the players. But it's like, but isn't the Hall of Fame also meant to show the best of the players? It's a bit of a weird system, so it's kind of odd to me. It hasn't really made much sense. Next one is, in my opinion, the best NRL commentator is not Peter Sterling. It is not, it's not Steve Roach. For some reason, it's not Blocker. Who would have fucking thought? But in my opinion, the best NRL commentator at the moment, and for the last like 10 years or so, is Andrew Voss. Now, let me be clear. Ray Warren is an absolute legend of commentary. He's the voice of rugby league. There's no denying that. And he has laid the soundtrack to some of the most important matches in rugby league history. However, in my personal opinion, since of him aging at this point, he's still going with commentaries for Channel 9, which is fair fucks to him, like, well done. It just kind of feels like he's sort of like in a bit of a backseat role, personally. But it's like, I've just, for some reason, always preferred Andrew Voss's commentary. I mean, it might be because I played Rugby League Live 3 and he was the commentator. Now, this one is a very interesting one. It's another Newcastle one, a bit shocking, but people talk about how there's players who deserved a lot more recognition during their playing years. But in my opinion, the most underrated player in the NRL era is Jared Mullen. Now, let me lay down the scene because there is context towards this. So in early 2007, Andrew Johns has to retire because of it was something to do in training. He had some like neck thing that happened, and he goes to the doctor and he says, "You have to retire. You're lucky you're not paralyzed. You have to stop playing." So basically, then there's obviously a role for the Knights of getting a new halfback, trying to replace and fill the boots of arguably the best halfback the sport has ever seen. Arguably. I know people think he's a drug cheat, but when the fuck has ecstasy been a performing enhancement? It's a bit... It's like saying, he's like, he cheated on his maths exam because he was doing marijuana. It's like, yeah, how the fuck does that help? But, and he basically had to come in at a very young age. I think he was like 19 when he had to come in as the new halfback. And he was like the solid backbone of the Knights franchise from then till about 2014-15. Like, he did get plagued with injuries near the latter end of his Knights career. But I still think, because he's made a lot of clutch plays, so we had to basically pick up from pretty much as a baby of the best, arguably the best halfback in rugby league, and basically ran through with it, and he did relatively well comparing of the circumstances. So as a shout out to Jared Mullen. This one is probably the most weirdest one, but this is something that's just me. It's I don't like how regular season games are played at ANZ Stadium. Like, ANZ Stadium is where the grand final happens. Like, I know South Sydney and the Roosters and Sydney Roosters have to play there, because you can't really play at Redfern, and for the Sydney Roosters because Allianz is getting rebuilt for reasons. I don't know. Allianz was a perfectly good stadium. Then they have to rebuild it for reasons. But it just kind of feels that you see the stadium where the grand final is hosted almost before, like, every other week, and it just, for me, it just kind of loses the mystique of the stadium. Like, I know in the AFL this is a massive other big issue, because literally every other game is at the MCG, so it's kind of an odd one. But yeah, it's just because, like, with me being a soccer fan as well, because you have stadiums like Wembley Stadium which are only played for the big clashes, and that's what builds up the mystique of the stadium. So yeah, that's just me. Number 9, this is gonna be this is a bit interesting, but I hate this manufactured rugby league atmosphere. So basically what I mean by this is you can't manufacture an atmosphere in sports. It's shit. You can tell when it's manufactured. One big thing is, because being a Knights fan, there is a thing called the Newcastle chant, because the Knights fans chant every 5 fucking minutes. Basically, when I would go to, like, more recent of games, there is actually a video that gets played during, like, these big moments of the players doing the Newcastle chant, basically making the crowd manufacturally doing the chant. Like, for live sport, you don't need fucking cue cards for an atmosphere to just turn up. To me, it's bullshit. You can tell when it's fake, because that Newcastle chant is the most natural chant that's in rugby league. Like, I honestly think there's nothing in terms of, like, a chant or something that's more popular. And people might say, oh, the Viking clapping it by the Raiders. That's a bullshit fucking trend. It's like, oh, they started doing it at the end of 2016. Definitely got nothing to do with the Iceland soccer team who started doing it during the European Championships. It's like, oh, we'll do that. Fuck off. Like, but it's just, I've always hated it. It's like, and it is a bit weird with said atmosphere. It's like Seven Nation Army being played, like, during halftime, and no one singing along with it. It is very weird. It's kind of like, fuck me. But that is just me. And now the last one. This one is probably, I need to make a whole video, like a 40-minute video, but I don't want to say that, because the last time I said I was going to make a video or something like that, it never happened. But I feel at this point in time, in terms of irrelevancy in rugby league, State of Origin has never been more irrelevant than now. Now, I know what people are thinking. Yes, I'm from New South Wales, and people are basically going to say, this is just because you lose Queensland, but no. There is a reason for me for this, because usually when a Knights team goes relatively well with the start of a season, they usually have players who are on both sides of the camp. So, because you'd have like David Klemmer and Daniel Saifiti play for New South Wales, and Kailyn Ponga playing for Queensland. Will he play for Queensland? I don't know. But basically, it just, the way I see it, in terms of like the fan involvement and stuff like that, Queensland, one side of the coin, which is Queensland, care, let's be honest, a bit too much about it. But what I've seen from New South Wales is they don't really care enough about it. So it's like a war where there's only one side that's really invested. So it's like, But one thing that really needs is like, it's just really bland. It's like, how can you tell me in terms of like differences? Like, how is Cameron Munster different playing for the Storm rather than playing for the Queensland? Or how's David Klemmer different playing for Newcastle and then when he's playing for New South Wales? There isn't much. Like, to hype like this rivalry up, they really need to go like take like lessons from like boxing, UFC, hell, even WWE. And like, I know WWE's fake, but it's like character and rivalry building up to a rivalry. That's literally what professional wrestling is. Like, have press conferences where both coaches are there throwing jabs at each other. Have players there, like, going on, like, have Daniel Saifiti look at Papali and go, I'm fucking gonna bury you, mate. And have, like, Kailyn Ponga say to James Tedesco, it's like, fucking remember 5 years ago where I snapped your fucking ankle at Newcastle? Yeah, I know we lost that game, but turned you into a fucking meme, didn't you? Like, stuff like that. It's those rivalries that built up what the Origin was during the 80s and the 90s. Like, you got, like, the players who were specifically made, like, from Origin. You had Wally Lewis was built up from State of Origin. Like, it got so bad that when he made his Australian debut in Sydney, he got booed because he was the Queensland captain. Like, you'd never see that happening in modern times. Trying to think of all the, like, other like players. You had the I don't know the name of him, the bloke that did the Queenslander chant. That was an impromptu thing from a Queensland player. It's just for me, it's just, I just see it as another game, another free game set, and like a potential of our players getting injured. But I do feel like it needs a fucking shot in the arm or something to like to be revitalized. So that is the end of this video. Those are my hot takes. What do you guys think? And what are your hot takes specifically? Because I want to make a second part where I react to your guys' hot takes or unpopular opinions when it comes to rugby league. So do let me know in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and don't flame me too much.